Hi, I'm Eric Wilson. I'll be your professor for your creative writing workshop in literary nonfiction. I happened upon something earlier today. As I was thinking about the introductory video for my other class this term, a literature class, American Romanticism, I remembered that one of my heroes, one of my writer heroes, Ralph Waldo Emerson, when lecturing, would sometimes stop in the middle of the lecture and start shuffling his papers. Much to the audience's consternation, they wondered, why is he doing this? And then, after shuffling his papers, he would seemingly read from a page way out of order. But what he would read would be strange and powerful and attractive. And ultimately, the auditors concluded that Emerson was less interested in logical consistency and more interested in the spontaneous eruption of linguistic power. And this was indeed the case. Emerson was a deep student of electromagnetism, the science of electromagnetism, as articulated by Michael Faraday in the early 19th century in England. And from Faraday, he learned that matter is not solid, but a pattern of electromagnetic energy. And he thought, well, if matter's that way, can words be this way? Can words have the same charge, the same electricity as an electrical circuit? And he answered himself, yes. So when you read an Emerson essay, or I guess if you heard an Emerson lecture, you see someone who's more interested in the kind of chaos required to generate powerful language sometimes than interested in logical consistency. To me, this is a great metaphor for the situation we are currently in. Here we are in the coronavirus. Consistency has gone by the wayside. Predictability has gone by the wayside. There's very little clarity. We're in a time of chaos, a time of confusion, a time when we don't really know what's going to happen next from day to day to day. And it's certainly a very difficult time for teaching and learning. What's it going to be like to do some classes online and some classes in person? How am I going to plan the class out in Canvas? How are you going to get the information from me? How are we going to workshop our essays? So many questions come to mind. But I want us to draw from Emerson's lesson and really focus on the fact that this is a creative writing class and that often creative power most likely emerges from a time of uncertainty, a time of chaos. As I often tell my students, and as I tell myself, when my writing is coming too easily, when I'm in the groove, when I'm in the flow, when I'm in the zone, usually it's mediocre writing because I know what's going to come next. The best writing comes from those moments when I don't know what I'm going to say next. It's almost like I can't even read anymore. I can't even speak the language anymore. I feel inarticulate, and every word is a huge strain. Well, what I now know is those are the times when I'm trying to articulate powers and energies and inner states and thoughts that I've not articulated before, and that's where the juice is. That's where the action is. So we're going to see this course as an opportunity, and an especially intense opportunity, an invitation to be more creative than ever before as writers, because we're in a time of chaos, because we're in a time where logic doesn't necessarily pertain, where predictability doesn't necessarily pertain. So I want us, yes, to acknowledge the stress of the time. It is a stressful time. I want us to acknowledge the difficulty of the time. It is a difficult time. But I also want us to see the instability as a special opportunity to think about the world in new ways, to write about the world in fresh ways. And we will be aware of this throughout our course. For this reason, this course will be composed of synchronous online sessions. Every other week, we will have a full 2.5 hour class. I know 2.5 hours is a long time to sit in front of a computer screen. We will have breaks, more than one probably, and we'll just sort of camp out in front of our computers and we'll talk about literary nonfiction of professional published writers, and we'll talk about our own literary nonfiction, and we'll workshop it. That's every other week. The other weeks we'll have a half class online where we'll talk about the given assignments for that week. But the second half of that class will be in person. So every other week we're going to have about an hour and a half of in-person contact. You'll be divided into two groups, and each group will take up about 40 minutes of that time. I'll go into detail about this much later. I'm just bringing it up now to tell you that during these in-person sessions, we're going to be discussing what I call burning questions. We're going to be talking about how what we're learning in class, what we're reading in class, and what we're writing in class applies to our current very chaotic situation, not only because of the coronavirus, but also because of the political landscape, and so on and so forth. So that will be a feature of this workshop that I've not had before. It's my effort to try to turn this time of uncertainty into something new. So every other week, the burning question session, where we think about how the imagination and the literary can address the uncertainty of the times we are living in. I'll be giving you more information on Canvas and via email about this class very soon. I'm just here to say I'm totally stoked to be working with you this semester in making literature.